Here in this video, we will go through together all of your Tesla stock news and what's going on in the markets today. A group of 33 US senators on Thursday urged Tesla and 12 other automakers to remain neutral in ongoing efforts by the UAW to organize US auto plants. Quote, "We believe a neutrality agreement is the bare minimum standard manufacturers should meet in respecting workers' rights, especially as companies receive and benefit from federal funds related to the EV transition." That doesn't exactly sound like a good thing, but it seems like Tesla employees, at least here in the US, really don't want to unionize anyways. The Tesla Cybertruck travels 254 miles in 70-mile-per-hour range test with factory 35-inch all-terrain tires, and temperatures were around 45 degrees Fahrenheit. The Tesla Model 3 and the Model Y come in number 1 and number 2 for the most popular used EVs in the US for 2023. Ford delivered a total of 25,937 EVs in the US in Q4. The Ford F-150 Lightning sold 11,905 units, the Mustang Mach-E at 11,889, and the E-Transit at 2,143. So Ford did beat GM in Q4 EV delivery sales. GM comes in at 19,469. Tesla tops them all by 3.7x combined at 170,839 deliveries for Q4 in the US. The Eupora Police Department in Mississippi is looking to add a Tesla Model 3 to its fleet, becoming the first in the state to incorporate an electric vehicle into its patrol fleet. EV company Fisker announced today that they would add dealerships alongside its direct-to-consumer distribution model to expand its sales and delivery network. Pure EVs in Australia made up 7.2% of new vehicles delivered in 2023 compared to 3.1% in 2022. Tesla had total sales of 46,116 in 2023, equaling 3.8% overall market share in Australia. Audi has unveiled an raised off-road edition of the electric Q8 e-tron SUV. Talk about overpriced. This thing starts at $131,000. That's just ridiculous. You're basically just paying for the brand at that point. Gary Black has released a new updated Tesla Catalyst list. He puts number 1 at the Cybertruck halo effect in Q1, stable auto gross margins in Q1, $7,500 EV instant rebate in Q1, Model 3 Highland US launch in Q1. We have gotten some news recently that should be coming here in Q1. We'll see. India factory / import duty deal also has that in Q1. Fed's pivot on interest rates in Q2. FSD OEM licensing deal full year 2024. That would be a massive catalyst for Tesla stock. Holy moly. Tesla $10 billion share buyback. That could also be a pretty big catalyst full year 2024. And the 25 to 30,000 next gen vehicle for full year 2025. He has a $300 price target in the next 6 to 12 months on Tesla stock. Tesla owner Silicon Valley points out that Honda recalls 2.5 million cars over a fuel pump defect and nobody even cares. If it's Tesla, every news outlet is reporting on it. Elon Musk responds and says they buy a lot of advertising, and with that, the silence of the media. I mean, that sounds pretty spot on to me. Turkey reported 550 Tesla sales and 0.4% market share for December. Denmark reported 4,069 Tesla sales and 21.2% market share in December, 72% of which were the Model Y and 27% were the Model 3. Global inventory numbers for the Model Y look like they're coming down a little bit. Model X inventories have recently jumped from 600 to 1,200, but Model 3 and Model S inventories still at pretty much the lowest points they've been at in the last 12 months. Google Trends data, to what could be a lot of our surprise, the Cybertruck is actually jumping big time from 28 to 34 overnight. Your Model 3 and your Model Y actually trending downwards a little bit to 33. So the Cybertruck now has more search trend activity again than the Model 3 or the Model Y. And as per usual these days, Tesla is running about 400 different Google ads. A new AI investor sentiment survey is out, and the bulls actually increased about 2.3% from last week. Now at 48.6%, neutral investors down about 1% to 27.9%, and bearish investors down about 2.4% to 23.5%. That's actually pretty interesting given the Santa Claus rally was not exactly great. Historically, if you are red during the Santa Claus rally period, in which we were, you're only higher in the month of January about 40% of the time. Q1 is flat on average, and your full year return is about 3%. So we do have that statistic working against our market. But you have to also remember stocks were green 9 weeks in a row prior to the Santa Claus rally, and you basically seen like 2 years worth of gains in 60 days. The last 60 days of 2023. So likely what you have been seeing over the past couple of days is some profit taking, and that makes a lot of sense. As far as Tesla option activity today from hedge funds and institutions, you have seen 525 individual trades totaling $1.39 billion with a positive order value of 60%. Volume activity today was 57.38% to the call side and 42.62% to the put side. Your stock Twit's sentiment meter is at 57. Yesterday you were at 49, which was technically neutral. Today at 57, you're technically bullish. Message volume is also high today, not as high as yesterday's 82, but at 72 today. So there's a lot of activity around Tesla. There's quite a few people that are bullish, and I think that will grow over the next couple of weeks. We know we have an India factory announcement coming and Tesla's earnings on January 24th. The percentage of stocks above their 50-day moving average is declining about 1% again here today, now down to 78.73%, which is almost precisely the high that you've seen on July 19th during the summer AI rally. This is about where you were back in February of 2023, before the banking crisis. As of today, there is 62.3% odds that we still get a rate cut in March. So the markets are still pricing in a rate cut in March, but the odds of a pause, nothing happening in March, are definitely increasing. Last week, the odds of a pause was 11.7%. Today, it's 33.8%. So whatever's over 50% is typically what the Fed does. For like 40 years in a row, they've followed what the markets are pricing in. So we want to watch to see if it starts to, the first rate cut kind of gets pushed out further. This is likely one of potentially a couple different reasons why stocks have been selling off as well over the past couple of days. Overall though, for 2024, you're still expecting 6 rate cuts. And another reason why stocks have likely been selling off, 10-year treasury yields have risen from about 3.78% now to 3.99%. You're up about 8.5 basis points today alone. Your 10 and 2 yield curve inversion is not doing anything. You're still inverted 42 basis points. And if you are someone that is bearish for 2024 and you're on recession watch, then it's actually when this thing goes positive, when it's no longer inverted, is when you really want to be on the lookout for a potential recession. So right now, all things are fine, at least in regards to the yield curve. Tesla's short position currently stands at $20.28 billion. Tesla has been and probably will be the most shorted stock for a while in our markets until the shorts really, wake up and see the sunshine that Tesla's going to perform well in 2024, as long as we avoid a recession. If we go into recession, Tesla stock's going to do very poorly. That's why tomorrow's data is going to be very important with your non-farm payrolls and your unemployment rate. The only thing really holding the economy together at this point is the fact that people have jobs. If jobs start to disappear and dry up, you're going to be in for a major problem. That's why tomorrow I'm expecting a lot of volatility, and we will go over official estimates in the next video, so stay tuned to the channel for that one, coming out at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. Good news is we're not going into tomorrow's non-farm payroll report blind. So we got the ADP employment change today. It's basically the private payroll number. And we came in at 164,000 job ads. The estimate was 115,000 job ads. So typically if the ADP employment change is good and higher than expectations, typically the non-farms, usually coming out the next day after or 2 days after, is usually good as well. If you get a miss, well, you typically get a miss on non-farms also. So the fact that you beat by 50,000 jobs, technically 49,000 jobs, that's a good sign that tomorrow's number is probably going to be as well. You also got initial jobless claims, which came in way lower than expectations at 202,000. Estimates were about 225,000. S&P Global Composite PMI came out at 50.9. Estimate was 51, and S&P Global Services PMI came in at 51.4. The estimate was 51.3. So that data overall pretty much in line with expectations. A slight skew towards services slowing down and global economies also slowing down maybe a little bit more than what was expected. The Atlanta Fed GDP Now tracker just updated as well, and now we're expecting around 2.5% GDP for Q4. It's hard to make an argument that Q3 GDP was 5.2%. Q4 GDP could be 2.5%. It's hard to make the argument the economy is actually slowing down right now. When Wall Street figures out we could actually be entering into an expansion period in the economy, or at least staying around trend growth, about 2% GDP, 2.5% GDP for 2024, stocks are going to take off. But when and how we get that clarity, that's really up for debate. Tomorrow's jobs report is one step. We also need company earnings. We need more inflation data, couple different things, retail sales, consumer spending numbers. Then we'll have a much better picture of how the economy is actually doing. Tesla stock at the time of recording this video is up almost 0.5%. It looks like we're getting a little bit of resistance around the 100-day moving average at $241.52. This is kind of as to be expected if you're anyone that really bought Tesla anywhere near the lows, or really most periods of 2023, you have some gains. Some hedge funds and institutions right now are saying, hey, we don't know what's going to happen with the economy in 2024. Let's sell first, ask questions later. So there is some profit taking happening out there in the marketplace. And again, we just don't have clarity on what the Fed's going to do in 2024, how the economy is going to evolve. It looks pretty clear inflation will continue to fall, but I mean, that's a risk that inflation just stalls out or actually rises from here. So I don't think that's great that you're finding resistance around the 100-day moving average, but I don't think it's Tesla specifically that is seeing the weakness. I think it's more so just the broader markets and what's going on, economically speaking, with the trends. Now, I would be a little bit more concerned if we fall under 230. Under 230, you turn into no man's land, and technically there would be a gap to fill around 225. I don't think that's going to happen, so there is major demand here in this range. As you can see, the last 2 days, you've gotten bought up here in the 230s. Really mid 230s to low 230s. And I expect there to be a lot of buying in this range in general. But if you somehow break under that, that's where you could fall potentially back down to $200 per share. But I think you're going to have to see some bad economic data to see that happen. Like a jobs report under 100,000 tomorrow could spark a large crash back to those levels. But I mean, what's the odds of that? Like 2%, 3%, 4, 5%, not very high at all. Here you can also see on the SPY, today was a slight red day, as it looks like it will be. This is clearly a hammer candlestick, but a negative one, right? Usually a hammer is seen as a bullish thing. This kind of looks like a hammer candlestick where you retrace in the morning down to lows, then you get bought up throughout the day. That did not happen today. You started at a high place, right? Or started kind of at a low place. You went high, and then you came back down to close near the lows. That's just showing you, and this is the 1 minute chart, that's just showing you that the buyers could not take control and the sellers took control at the highs and ran the stock all the way down to the lows by the end of the day. Not exactly a great sign heading into tomorrow or for our broader markets. And if you look at the SPY here, just more so on a technical basis, I mean, you haven't fallen a lot from the highs. You might need to at least fall back to 465, if not around the 455 level, just to get a little bit of a reset back to our markets. One of the big stories is Apple continues to decline. Apple falling another 1.25% today, just basically in a free fall as they have gotten another downgrade, citing really the same things that Barclays said. Services slowing down, so their actual hardware itself probably late cycle kind of peak. So that wasn't great also. As far as Tesla specifically, Tesla is now a little bit on the oversold side with an RSI of 45.59. And if you look at the MACD, that thing is clearly curling downwards. So could be susceptible here for any bullish pressure. And you could see a pretty big move in Tesla stock anytime now, in my personal opinion. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you guys want to come trade with us live in real time, get access to every time I make trades, link down below in the description of this video. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.